I'm Tarot Oracle, and today we're continuing our symbology for tarot, and let's first talk about the Emperor and the Ankh. So, according to Google, it's pronounced Ankh. Other Google sites will have Ankh, so pick your favorite. This is the Egyptian hieroglyphic symbol that was most commonly used in writing and art to represent the word for life, and by extension is a symbol of life itself from Wikipedia. So the sun has a cross shape but an oval loop in place of the upper bar. So that represents life. Now you can see it's a bit different over here on the Rider Waite. By the way, we're using the Universal Waite and the Hanson-Roberts Tarot. So you can see over here we do have the globe. I do not see the Ankh. I do see the ram. We'll talk about the ram in a minute, but let's first talk about the armor. So he does wear armor and he's sort of showing it off, and you don't really see that in you see like bare legs in the Thoth, and in many other cards you don't really see any skin or anything, but he's sort of showing off his armor, sort of representing the protection and strength. So he needs to be protected, and he is protected. He's a leader, and he's most commonly referred to in a male form. So this is sort of the predominantly male card, and he's wearing armor for protection. I also want to point out that he does have a crown, which obviously means his authority, which again, he's sort of the symbolic king of the tarot, etc., etc. And we have the crown representing the kingship or the royalty and the power that he does have. Now you do see the crystal ball in almost all of them, and the crystal ball is sort of an enlightenment. So he has that connection with another part of life. He has a connection with things of higher powers. And again, we can see the mountains as well. We have the mountains have returned, indicating, sort of challenges. Being a king, being a queen is never easy, and within all of that we're going to have challenges, and we have this predominantly red or action-oriented, wands-oriented, cardinal-oriented type feel to the entire card, especially pronounced in the Thoth deck as well. So it's very cool that we have that sort of that red feel amongst the entire card. And we do have the ram as well. The ram is dominant in almost every version of this, and the ram is determination. The ram head is like taking action or getting to where you want to be with your goals. So you're not just sort of sitting around and waiting for something to happen. You're actually doing it, and you get that feel as well from all the red in the card. Sort of, I'm not sitting there. I'm not just going to be here and do nothing. I'm going to go out and get things done. I'm going to go out and achieve what I need to achieve for my goals, and that symbolizes the ram as well. Then obviously the stone throne represents that authority, and that symbolizes the sort of the stability of the card and everything else. Now I want you to notice that the king in the Rider Waite is looking to his right, which according to the psychology is an imaginative thought. So if you're looking left, looking right, there's a difference. He's looking to his right, which is creative or imaginative thoughts. So I want you to sort of notice that in the Rider Waite, that he is looking away. He is looking to the right. And some other text on symbology says the beard is important because the beard represents that he's been around a while, or he has that age, that grayed beard, that age. He has enough age for wisdom. He's been through it all, and he has the knowledge that he needs to proceed and lead properly. He's not, a 13-year-old or something like that that's not going to have the experience and not going to be able to lead properly. He has that gray beard. He has that enough life behind him to make informed decisions. He's been through it, he's seen it, and he is knowledgeable and has the wisdom to lead properly. So a bunch of interesting things in the Emperor card. And next, let's talk about the Hierophant. The Hierophant, the sort of the religious the religious or authoritarian type figure. We have a literal ton of interesting things in here. So let's first look at the crossed keys, which we have in almost every version of that. So that symbolizes the ability to go places and open doors, or to open opportunities where opportunities were not available before. So it's something that he can get through locks, or he can get through sort of unlocking things that other people can't unlock as well. So we have the crossed keys. Next thing I want to discuss is his hand gestures. You'll see this frequently in Christian paintings, or a lot of churches will have stained glass with that hand symbol. And according to many sites, that talks about a Christian hand sign, and that is basically a gesture that's used for benediction, which translates from Latin to mean speak well. So this is used at the end of church service as a prayer and a blessing. So it's very interesting talking about the fingers and what they represent. Some say that the thumb is Venus, the index finger is Jupiter, and the middle finger is Saturn, the ring finger Apollo, and the little finger Mercury. Basically, a lot of different texts talk about the different hand signs and the different finger gestures and what they mean in this particular thing. But it is pretty popular in a lot of Christian paintings and whatnot. So the next thing to look at is the papal cross. According to Wikipedia, you can look up papal cross, as you can see on screen here. And the papal cross is a Christian cross, which serves as the emblem for the Pope. So it's 3 horizontal bars near the top in diminishing order in sort of the length as you approach the top. So some say that this symbolizes the Trinity of the Father God, the Son Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. So interesting that they have a cross as well. And then again, we have the pillars, which represent the stability, and then we sort of have the monks in the foreground, and obviously we have a bunch of crosses, including the crosses on the rug, or on the rug that's at the bottom there, and the crosses that are in his outfit. Now we do have a mixture of white and red, the red sort of representing again the action-oriented, or the fiery element. We have this mix of this fiery element as well. So he is holding the hand up towards the sky as sort of a gesture to the heavens, or a gesture to God, or his God, or whatever. So very cool card, the Hierophant. And the next card we have is the Lovers. Always just a fascinating card. Now we do have angels, and the angels represent that ability to connect with something higher, and the ability to receive messages from high above as well. So you have that divine protection, or that divine, not really intervention, but the divine communication that you need to make a love successful, or make a combination of 2 people successful as well. Obviously, we have angel wings extremely prominent in the card, and that is sort of like happiness and a promise of something better, as well as a hope, and just protection from evil. So you have that wing sort of protecting you from any evil. It's sort of enveloping you within the wing, and it's wrapping you in that safety and that comfort as well. So you'll see a lot of these have apples in them, and the apples is sort of that Adam and Eve. And you'll see that a lot in some of the cards and some of the references of the cards about the Adam and Eve sort of feel that we have here. Some texts say that the apple always also represents love and joy and things like that, but we're sort of coming back to Adam and Eve, and you see this a lot in some of the texts that we have on the different decks and whatnot. So Adam and Eve, love, whatever the apple is going to stand for within that. And all of these have clouds as a prominent thing as well. So the clouds sort of represent a movement from one space to the next. or movement to a higher plane. So that transition between, the bad times into a better time, or the transition between, being alone to being together and things like that. So the clouds sort of differentiate that, and also sort of give, again, we have this repeating theme of this big blanket, or big blanket of protection between the two lovers. And it's interesting because we have the clouds sort of blanketing and protecting them, and then we have the wing sort of blanketing and protecting them, and the foliage in the back blanketing and protecting them. So we have that isolation feel as well. So a lot of these will have mountains in them, and again, the mountains are the challenges. Some decks have mountains, some decks don't, but the mountains are going to be the challenges and trying to get through that as well. So we do have snakes as well, so you can see a snake in the Rider Waite. I'm looking at the Hanson Roberts. I don't really see a snake, but the snake again is that transformation field that we had from the other decks as well. So you have that, again, that transformation, the snake sort of biting its own tail, but in this case it's not biting its own tail, but again we have that loop, or that change. So that transformation from being alone to that transformation from being one type of person to the next type of person, and you'll see that in the Rider Waite. But looking at the Hanson Roberts, I do not see the snake. Interesting. Now we do have the trees in both decks, and the trees obviously represent growth, just like in the other cards that we have. So the trees are just a growth, or moving forward, or growing both in maturity, because you have someone with you, and another type of growth. So it's interesting that in the Rider Waite we have the man sort of looking across, but the woman is looking up at the angel. So there's sort of this difference of views that's represented within the Rider Waite, the difference of views. So maybe the man's view is going to be different than the woman's view, right? So they're not joining together and becoming one thought or one type of person. They're coming together with difference of views, with difference of opinions. And that's sort of represented in the Rider Waite, because you have the man looking forward again, then the woman looking up at the angel. So very interesting, all this symbology. And on the Rider Waite, we have the prominence of the sun, obviously representing that warm light or happiness or things like this. So tons and tons of symbology within the lovers. And the last card we have is the Chariot. We have quite a bit of symbolism in here. One is going to be sort of this feel of the archway, or this, all the stars that we have here, and then the star sort of on the crown as well, talking about the guidance. So the Chariot in many decks is not moving. It's made of stone and has sphinxes in front of it, sort of represents that lack of movement or the lack of progression. And some chariots will have the flying through and making great progress. So sort of a difference in opinion on many decks, but the stars represents a guidance, or like in other cards, especially with the star card itself, that guidance, the ability to go to where you're needed, or to the way, the sort of showing you the way, as it were. And you have stars here, stars here. It's quite a bit of stars in all of these. And again, we're talking about the armor again. We have sort of a bit of armor, especially with a face within that. You'll notice the face under the moon. And the moon represents the cycles of life, sort of waxing, waning, full, new moon, eclipsed moon, eclipses, and etc. And we have that feel here that that we have that under the moon and over the moon, which has different faces as well, which is very interesting. And the faces have closed eyes, so they're looking up from the cycles, the repeated cycles that the moon represents. Those faces are looking up, but the eyes are closed. And you'll see faces within this moon as well, sort of looking up and representing the intuition or the cycles and things like this. So again, we have the armor, so protection and strength that we have from the Emperor card as well. He is holding a baton, which again is sort of an authoritative type symbol. And it's, that he has that authority, and he's using that authority to move forward. He's using that authority to progress into other places. Now, you do have a bunch of astrology symbols on his gear. So there we have sort of his kilt or whatever gear that is. We have a variety of astrology symbols on there as well, including, I see Venus, and let's see, it looks like a square, and trine. We have a bunch of different symbols on there. I could see Mercury. They're really, really super small, but we do see a bunch of astrology symbols in there as well. So there is a castle in the background representing from whence he came or from where he came. So he's sort of making a journey, and that's represented by the castle. So he sort of left the security and the comfort of the castle, and he's out and about. So that's sort of a daring type feel that you have from him. It looks like he just crossed a river or maybe a small moat or something like that as well. So you can see that he's taking a journey, as well as in here you can see he's taking a journey. So he's moving, he escaped that protection, and he's being brave and moving forward and sort of, getting things done. So now we have the Sphinx, which symbolizes sort of the in touch with the outer world, or in touch with the secrets or the meanings of life and stuff. So that mysterious feel that all the Sphinxes have. And one is sort of looking forward, and one is looking up as well. So very interesting that we have that difference. So then we have the yin and the yang, which represents balance. We'll look it up. Pretty simple, represents balance. And also we have the wings and the crest in this particular one, which signifies inspiration and navigation. So we have that navigation feel, that movement feel, but again, he's not going anywhere. He's not actually moving or charging forward or anything like this. So we have an interesting combination of all sorts of symbolism in here. And you'll notice that we have the yin and the yang here, but the yin and the yang is represented by the black and the white sphinxes on the other side, which I think is kind of interesting. So we have the actual symbol here, but we have the meaning or the feeling of that power, or the feeling for that ability over here on the Rider Waite. Now you'll notice that this is a young man. If you contrast this to the Hierophant, which had the long beard and everything else. So this is the youthfulness of the card comes across as well. So this is a youthful man. He's charging forward with his armor. He has, sort of that protection of being enclosed into the chariot, and he has the wheels and the movement and the adventurous feel, as well as the bravery for leaving the comfort of his home and moving forward into unknown territory in the chariot. So again, tons of symbology within this particular card, and tons of stuff to look at, and very cool card. And as always, I'd like to thank my Patreon supporters who donate money to me to keep my quest going. My quest is simple. I want to teach you tarot, Lenormand, I want to teach you Kipper, I want to teach you everything that I possibly can. Astrology, obviously, as well. And they help me by supporting me and helping pay for the software that I use and all the fancy effects you see, and the microphone that I'm using, etc., etc. So my current Patreon supporters, thank you so much. They are Allie Cat, Annie Lemaster, Carolyn Borchard, Crystal McGinn, Gary Fink, Hot Chocolate, Janet Littler, Jessica Mante, KSW, La Ami, Peter, Richard Zeh, Scott Miller, Shintaro Kuga, SJP, and Tina Iovero. Thank you so much. You can find a Patreon link in the description if you're interested in helping me out as well. If not, that's fine too. I would just ask, please hit like and subscribe. It gets more traffic to the channel. It gets more exposure to all the fun things that I do on the channel. Thank you so much for watching.